Cam Newton, when we last saw him in training camp 2021, cut. Mac Jones gets the job. He's like, I'm back. Came back to Carolina, scored a touchdown. Michael Smith getting excited,
and I went
jumping
crazy.
out of his chair.
Crazy.
I told you, Cam about to go on a run.
I sure did.
Here it is.
I sure did. Jordan is reportedly selling his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets. Michael Jordan's failure as an owner is used to knock down the otherwise unassailable player's legacy a peg or two, because for the most part, he's not unlike most owners. Hey, what? Can you come on in April so we can talk NFL draft? That's it. Go to break. Go to break. No.
Hey y'all, welcome to Women's Wednesdays. I am joined by someone dear to me. Her name is Zena Keita from The Athletic, and she's also one of my colleagues from the NBC Sports Bay Area. Thank you for joining today.
Nat, thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation today. And also, thank you for getting me out of my shell. I usually don't do, takes and having opinions. I usually just give information. So I'm very excited to be part of the conversation.
Well, great, because we know you got them. So let's just get into probably one of the biggest NBA stories, top news for since yesterday, actually. But Ja Morant has finally spoken to the press, and he is set to possibly make a return tonight. So let's hear from Ja and what he had to say.
To pride yourself in a way of kind of showing the real Ja, in that light. Do you still feel like you'll be able to be that person where you can go on Instagram Live and still tweet, as much as you used to before this incident?
I won't be doing that at all. Me saying things, actions speak very louder than words. So that's my main focus now. Obviously, super excited to be back with my teammates. That's the main thing right now. So right now for me, it's just keeping the main thing, and continuing to going through my process of becoming a better me. I feel like if I do that, not only will it help me, but it'll help everybody around me as well.
So we finally heard from Ja himself. He's saying all the right things, Zena.
Yeah.
I have some concerns, but he's saying the right things right now. Specifically, I think that was Michael Cole there from the Commercial Appeal asking him about whether he's going to use social, or if he's going to use it in the same way that he did before.
Right.
And he indicated that he won't be. He has tweeted already, though, but just saying day by day, if I'm correct. So he's tweeted, hasn't been much from him outside of that, but we'll see what's coming. I say that I'm worried about him a little bit still, because while he's saying the right things, a lot of it, and I don't know, it sounds like he was coached on what to say. It sounds like PR or whoever worked with him, lawyers, and maybe I could be wrong. I'm totally speculating.
Sure.
But as a lawyer myself, and if I have a client, he's saying things that he's talking the way I would want my client to talk. And the reason I'm concerned is because we know that he went to counseling. That was reported. He went to counseling. Right. But he left counseling very early. I mean, I'm not even sure the exact time frame that he was totally there. And he indicated that it was to help with his stress, not alcohol. He made that very clear.
Yes,
but,
I'm not an alcoholic.
Right, but it seems quick, and I don't know if the counseling is still ongoing. I hope it is, but that's why I have concerns. What did you think about what Ja had to say?
It's funny. I saw that video and I felt so sad listening to him. And we know Ja Morant to be this just very gregarious, like tons of energies, dunking on everybody, having fun with his teammates, center of attention type of person. And he just sounded, I won't be doing that at all. I'm not worried about clubbing. I'm not going out. I'm not doing, and I'm just thinking, like, as a 23-year-old experiencing that level of pressure, and yes, he probably does have a ton of coaches, lawyers, agents, you name it, in his face, like, don't mess this up. You almost messed it up already. with the fact that you're getting away in the sense that you're getting a second chance. Don't mess this up. So I definitely felt like, yes, he might have been coached, but now that spotlight that he was under of having fun and being that number one player for the Grizzlies and the face of the league, he's now under a microscope. And all I can think about when I heard that and why I was sad is when you're holding a microscope and there's a spotlight or a light direction of, sun or whatever's under that microscope burns. And that's what concerned me is I think about Black Boy Joy. I think about all these different things. Yes, he made a terrible mistake. He made some not so smart decisions. He's also 23. I urge anyone and everyone that is thinking about the situation, remember what you were doing when you were 23. Then add millions and millions and millions of dollars on top of it. I just don't want him to be so far under this microscope now that he burns and that energy that we love about him is gone.
Yeah, it's he's probably going to be so careful about the steps he's taking, what he says, what he does. And that in itself, having to be so careful about every single thing you say, every step you take, can also lead to stress, which is why I say,
yes,
I hope that the counseling is ongoing. The way that I think a lot of people think about therapy, counseling is like you go for a specific thing and then you're done. But I wish that we would treat mental health like the way we treat physical health, right? And it's ongoing, it's maintenance. Right. So it's all health. So I go to therapy to maintain my mental health, and I go to, the gym to maintain my physical health. And it shouldn't just be like you have a problem. A lot of these words, they tend to stigmatize it. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. But there's been so much response to what he had to say, right? And I don't know, Zena, I've just been watching the commentary, and I would say the dog whistles have come out. I'm hearing a lot of this language, people quoting the rap lyrics, of the rappers that he recites and talking about how those rappers have gone to jail, they've been in trouble. Then showing video like, oh, he doesn't have an alcohol problem, and then show videos of him drinking. And I'm just like, I'm sure you didn't drink when you were younger, right? Like the people who were saying these things. So, there's some undertones to some of that commentary.
Oh, yes. People are exposing themselves. And that's the thing is anytime you take any of these circumstances, especially from a sports lens, and you see how people are filtering through to take what they want to take out of the situation, you're starting to see the filter they operate in general life through. Right. And that is what, exactly as you mentioned, some of these undertones, rap lyrics. I mean, we could have that go all the way back to the 1980s. Rap lyrics are rap lyrics. And the quote of the day is usually a rap lyric. And when you're a young kid, you're listening to, in this case, it was NBA Youngboy, Parade in My City. He was excited. Parade in My City. Yes, the song relates to gun violence. Not a great coincidence. But he said Parade in My City multiple times before this incident. And so, undertones, exposure is happening for sure for the people that are making comments and trying to figure out how they want to distill this situation to make sense for them.
And it's unfortunate because, and it was to be expected. I already saw it coming with the strip club where the pictures were released afterwards and people were like, John strip club in the headlines, and it's like, what do you think people do in the strip club? I mean, like, he wasn't.
You better be lucky we didn't see anything worse than money being thrown around and what happens in a strip club happening in a strip club. So
exactly. And the owner of the strip club, I think, in fact, said like he's one of the nicest people that came in. He was really nice to the girls. So, but it's like when I saw that, I was like, okay, no NBA players are going back to your facility.
Ever.
But second, it's like, all right, like I could see what's coming. And now you're going to just have people out there ready and trying to catch Ja in the middle of something so they can like get those photos to TMZ or wherever it is. So, I have concern for him as much as I'm a Warriors fan and I'm like against the Grizzlies when it comes to like the basketball stuff. Like I still want Ja to succeed. And so again, like I said, I hope he continues the therapy, but I am still concerned. And, I hope the stress that he went to therapy for. I hope he is learning to manage it better.
Agreed. Not only for himself, for his family, his daughter. I mean, I think everyone knows Ja Morant is a smart kid. He's going to figure this out, but we just don't want to burn that black boy joy out of him as he's trying to figure that out. So agreed with you. Hopefully gets the help he needs and continues to do so.
For sure. All right. Well, we got some company coming, and we're going to talk more about Ja Morant, because people had so many takes on him, and I got a lot to say about one of them. So we'll be back.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere.
Check this out. I hate the fact that they made Ja feel like he needed to go talk to somebody or talk to somebody how to deal with his stress or ups and downs, right? When we got into the brawl, and when I got into the show, they tried to make me talk to somebody. Now, the lady was cool. The lady was super cool. But I didn't talk to her about my problems. I damn sure didn't confide in her and say nothing about what I had going on. Nothing. Man, ain't nothing wrong with you, bro. You made a bad decision. You f***ed up, deal with it. But you don't need to talk to nobody, bro. Because whoever you talk to ain't gonna relate to what you got going on. They just somebody that's sitting there that's gonna give you an opinion about what they think you did. They ain't got no experience. Ain't nothing wrong with you, Ja. Just get back to playing basketball, dog. Everybody.
I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of a lot of Steven Jackson's commentary. So a lot of it I ignore. I move on, because he just says, in my opinion, a lot of things, some ridiculous things. But this is something that's really important to me, therapy. I'm a big proponent of it. I always tell people this. I go every Saturday. And we all know it's stigmatized in our community, right? Like, for various reasons. And we can talk about that. But in the Black community, there's a stigma around going to therapy. And so, you know, he talks about his experience going to therapy, and that, you know, he didn't tell the person he went to anything. And that's to his own detriment. You know, we can't control what he did, because you do have to be open. It's sort of like a lawyer with their client. It's like, I can't help you if you're not honest with me and you don't open up to me, you know, so do not keep things from me. And, you know, being vulnerable is hard for people. I get it. So, but putting that out there, especially as like an NBA veteran, you know, Ja is so young. He's so impressionable. We don't know what others are saying around him. Right. And I just worry about like those kinds of opinions potentially influencing him. You know, he's like, well, ain't nothing wrong with him. He didn't need to go to counseling. Suggests that there's something even wrong. The implication there is that there's something wrong with even going to therapy, and that something has to be wrong for you to go. So I didn't like what Stack had to say. But Jim, I'm curious. I want to know. Look who decided to show up. Hey, Mark.
How in the name of protecting Black mental health do you immediately criticize me for being Black and late? Like, I don't get it, Jim.
I mean, well, for one, we have that relationship where, you know, I can mess with you a little bit.
Always.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
And he was on CP time, and we all, as Black people, understand up here CP time, so we won't hold it against you, Marcus.
I'm going to therapy to help me with my lateness.
I cannot. I'm done.
And so we were just about to talk about Steven Jackson. So yeah, I mean, I want to hear from everyone, but like, Jim, you could start. You heard the full sound of Steven Jackson. Marcus, I assume you've heard it, like, you know, floating around Twitter, but what did you make of Steven Jackson's commentary?
Well, number one, I think there are a lot of layers to what he said, but number two, and more importantly, you know this, Nat. Over my shoulder, there's a jersey here from the late, great Junior Seau, who was a friend of mine and who took his own life. And so from my standpoint, since his death, for me, it has been important to talk about the importance of mental health and saying that asking for help is a sign of strength and not a sign of weakness. Because I never knew all the things that he was going through, as a lot of people didn't. And so from that standpoint, it was disappointing to hear Steven Jackson say what he said, because clearly Ja seemed to at least indicate that there were some things that he needed to address, and that this may have been good for him. So I hate that we stigmatize, not we, but that some stigmatize mental health as if it's a bad thing. I think anything that helps you become a more productive person, citizen, I'm all for it, man. So I was disappointed in what Stephen had to say. There were some layers in there that I think there were kernels of truth to that you could talk about, but the overriding message that he sent to me was wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Marcus, what were your thoughts about Stephen Jackson's commentary?
I understand him in a way that's probably a little bit uncomfortable, right? Like I understand his goal. I know what it's like not personally from Josh's perspective, but I know what it's like when it feels like everybody is down on you and you need somebody to say, man, you're fine. Like, you're not what everybody's saying. And in this period, everybody's got a lot to say about Ja, right? And there's memes and there's all that. And I think he's trying to say, man, you're good. Like, who you are at your core, you're not awful. Now, perhaps Stephen Jackson is not the best spokesperson for this mindset, right? But I just understand, and I know Stephen Jackson, so I know what he's trying to do. I know what he's trying to say. But I do feel like, I mean, it's not even like a opinion. Like, this is fact. We stigmatize mental health, right? As a Black male, I know Black men don't go to therapy, right? Like, we're like last in line to go to therapy. I'm one of them, right? Like, I'm one of the people like, man, we don't need that. Put some tussin on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's also a product of where we've been from. And that's why we need intelligent people to talk about it, because some of us ain't from that, right? Some of us have figured out other ways of therapy. Some of us, we know that. And, you get to be 40, like, you ain't really trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't trying to sit on nobody's couch. Like, you got blunts, you got church, you got friends, you got all this stuff. Like, we've had to figure out a way to survive and maintain confidence in ourselves without these actual resources, right? Or these, more healthier resources. So we need the smart people to talk about it, but at the same time, like, understanding what we come from. Some of us may not know, and I just choose to look at what Stephen Jackson was trying to do because I understand where he's coming from. I feel like that's what I wanted to hear. If I was in Josh's corner, I would want somebody to tell me, nah, you're not what they saying, man. And I know what you did was probably shady, but that's not who you are, and you aren't broken in the sense that people are telling you you're broken.
Yeah, but can I say this real quick? Because we don't know if the therapist didn't say that exact same thing to him.
Facts.
That you are okay, that you just, there are some things that maybe you need to deal with. And the thing that I say, there are layers to this that I thought with Stephen Jackson, with what he said. One of the things he said is they have never been through what you've been through. And he is absolutely right about that. And from a cultural standpoint, there's some of that you go to a therapist, if that therapist has never experienced what you have experienced professionally, culturally, and other ways, that may be an issue. But I think ultimately what Stephen was saying too is that, yeah, you're all right. But even if you're all right, we all need help at times to deal with some things. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying to him. He said it, but in the wrong way. And so what it did for me too is, we often talk about needing veteran players at the end of the bench or somehow associated with your team, right, to help raise these young men as they come into the league at 21 or whatever. And you think about a guy like Udonis Haslem, or even with the Warriors with Iguodala, and folks who can help educate these young players about what's involved and what it takes to be a professional. And so when Stephen says something like that, what would concern me is the message you're sending to Ja that, you know what, you're fine, you're cool, everything you're doing is all right? Or are you going to say, man, you're good, but this stuff ain't cool, and this is why. And this is, your career, you're jeopardizing your career, your generational wealth, all of that. So there's a fine line there, and maybe that's what he meant. It just didn't come across completely like that.
Well, I want to jump in there on that point of the kernels that you were talking about, the truth. So as you watch the video, all the way up until before he said, you good, nothing's wrong with you, right, I empathized with him. Yeah. And the reason why I empathize with him is because I can imagine why a Black man is distrustful of an organization sending you to counseling. Right. So I understood that. I thought the message that he was about to continue on saying is, you don't need to talk to them, but you need to go talk to someone. right? Find someone you trust, whether it's someone that's from your camp, someone that sets you up, rather than, through your boss. Because I've heard players talk about their reluctance to talk to anyone that's been organized and assigned to talk to them by the league. I can understand that. So that was surprising that he completely shifted to be like, you're good. And I agree with you. I think that there is a difference between acknowledging you're okay. We got you, bro. Like, we're not thinking that you're this demon, that you're this terrible human, but the things that you did, you need some help. We got you. Reach out to us. We'll help you, et cetera. But definitely take advantage of the resources that people are providing you, et cetera. So I was shocked that was the route he was going.
Yeah, that is called validation. What you just said, like saying it's literally a therapeutic thing. It's called validation when you validate someone and let them know. I'm gonna just say one more thing, and Marcus, give you the last word.
What was that word you said?
Validation.
What was that word you said?
Validation.
No, the other one, therapeutic. No, what was it? Say it again.
Oh, Marcus, please. I don't know.
Okay. I love the way she says therapy. I love it.
But I want to just touch on like something that you were saying, Jim, about maybe they may not know, and there might be some validity to what Steven Jackson was saying in terms of like they don't know what you're going through. We're all individuals, so no one can ever exactly know what you're going through. But I do want to say there's been so much progress made with respect to Black therapists. And so, I mean, there's therapy for Black girls, which I know sounds like it's just for women, but they have a database that's available that people can go to and look up Black therapists. And those therapists are for men and women. Like from when I first started looking for a therapist, which several years ago, which there was like no databases, there's so many ways now, and you can find someone who culturally identifies with you. And Black people should be talking to Black therapists. I want to make that clear. So there are people oftentimes who can identify in terms of culturally similar backgrounds, things like that. So I just want to start to remove away some of these misconceptions about therapy so people like know what they can do when they need help.
Nobody will unhear it now. Nobody will unhear it. Therapy.
You know what? It's funny that we're on this topic because unrelated to Ja, I was actually having a conversation yesterday with a mental health professional. And as it relates to the NFL and whatnot, and the thing that blew me away, this professional was telling me that within the NFL, like every team says it has a certified mental health person that players and staff and coaches and people can go through, right? But this person was telling me there were maybe only 4 of color in the entire NFL. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what this person was saying to me. Here's the other thing, speaking to the point of distrust among players and using mental health professionals. What I didn't know is that you think when you go see a therapist that it's confidential, that it never reaches the team, right? In theory, that's how it's supposed to be. And what this mental health professional told me is that in certain jurisdictions, that if you have an incident, the team can then go to whoever that psychiatrist is or whoever, and now get the notes from that person. And now they know everything that you've been talking to that professional about. And that blew me away. It blew me away because I'm like, if I'm a player now, I ain't ever going to anybody in network. If I'm getting any help, it's going to be from outside of anything associated with the NFL. So
it's basically the feds.
Again, yeah.
And I think that's a good idea in general because you need to find the therapist that's right for you, just like a doctor or any kind of professional. And so it's like dating. You have to find the therapist that's right for you. And so you shouldn't just be relying on any network provided by your employer as a general matter. Like you should go and make sure you find one that's right for you.
And when you think about Steven Jackson and everything that he's gone through, particularly with relation to authority, I would imagine that that's something, information he probably knew, right? As like, if you disclose information, I mean, when he zoomed in and said, I haven't told her anything, or I didn't tell her anything, he might have gotten that sense from someone else that's like, hey, don't disclose everything that you're going through because it could end up in the hands of your front office or the people that are managing your paycheck. And I thought that was a full premise of what he was trying to say. But I mean, now that you've just said that, Jim, I think that is something that most players are probably wary of. I was blown away. I'm telling you, if I'm a player, any help that I get in terms of the mental health field is going to be from outside.
the organization.
For sure.
Because again, now we're talking about your livelihood potentially. Because this was the way this came up is there's an NFL player who was not re-signed by his team. And then one of the things that this team official said to me is, well, you know, can we really trust him? Look what he said on social media and this, that, and the other. And what this mental health professional said, teams can view that as a quote unquote incident. And now in certain jurisdictions, they can go to your mental health professional who is in circle, whatever they call that. And all those notes and things that you have been talking to that person about, they now have. And now they can make a decision about, you know what, man, we got some stuff going on here. We don't want to be associated with this player. And therefore, it affects his livelihood. So there are a lot of layers to this discussion, you know, that it's very easy to say what someone should or shouldn't do just off the cuff. But once you dig into it, it gets complicated.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, Marcus said smart people need to be talking about it, and I thank you three for helping me to have this discussion. The players need to hear this. Other people need to hear this. But we're going to move on. You know, we're talking about privacy and people liking to keep things for themselves and not opening up. And one of those people is Andrew Wiggins. He's a player who he's very private. Marcus, you know this. You cover the Warriors. You know, he was very private in handling the matter when it came to the COVID-19 vaccine. He's out right now. We don't know why he's out. And so there have been a lot of people asking questions about Andrew Wiggins, a lot of people demanding to know what's going on with Andrew Wiggins. And there's been a conversation about it. And so Draymond Green sounded off on the people who were talking about this. Let's hear what Dre had to say.
The fact that a rumor about Andrew Wiggins, whether what y'all saying is true or not, really has no bearing on my life. Nor does it have any bearing on y'all life. Like, y'all are so thirsty to know what's going on in someone's life that becomes the thing. Sometimes people disgust me. You don't know what someone is dealing with, and then you make them deal with that? What if that's not what the person's dealing with? Stop it. It's disgusting.
Yeah, Marcus, you wrote a great piece in The Athletic about Andrew Wiggins and, you know, what I'm going to call it is the entitlement. People feeling entitled.
Yes.
And it's fans, I think, predominantly. I don't know if I've really heard media. I mean, people might be curious, but fans sort of thinking that they need to know why he's out and being critical of him. I want to know where this fan entitlement came from, Marcus.
All right. See, I feel like I'm be the defender of all things, right? I'm just get my shield on. Let me defend the fans a bit. I can't believe I'm saying this because I got so many issues with fans, but like, this is the game they play. This is the game we play. I'm part of this game of letting you know about these players, of finding out stuff you're not supposed to know. I mean, the Warriors had a very major incident earlier with the fight between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. Like, we're behind the scenes figuring it out, uncovering it, right? And what's the line and where's the line? So I don't know if we should fully blame them for not knowing when somebody's screaming uncle, because I feel like this is one of those situations where it's like, oh, okay, no, here's the line, and this you don't get to know. And I see why it's a bit unclear, right? I see why it's a bit like, I don't know. We know about children and babies and families, and we write this stuff. We tell them all about it. So I understand why they expect it. My point when I wrote that was to say, hey, these people in the locker room know him better than anybody and know what's going on, and they not mad, and that's enough for me. That should be respected. And if Wiggins has built enough clout with his teammates and his organization to say, hey, please don't put this out there, and they don't, in an era where everything leaks, they've decided to keep this in. To me, I'm like, all right, I got it. That's enough. So to me, it's about player agency. It's about like really kind of respecting. Does a player get to say, no, this is off limits, right? And if so, do we honor that? Do we respect it? I get why people want to know. I get why people are like in it. Like, the whole profession is built on the fact that they are insanely passionate about it. And I do feel like the Warriors could probably come out and give a little bit more detail, not about the situation, but about maybe when you expect them back. And that's the price we pay. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it, but I just understand. Like, this is the game. Find out all you can and report it. Like, I made my career off this, so I can't now be like, y'all shady for wanting to know.
I mean, they've told us that they hope he comes back this season. I think Bob Myers said they're not certain, but they think he would come back before the season ends. So I feel like it's one of those things that they've made clear is fluid and they don't have a definite answer. But I mean, they're really out here being ridiculous, making up crazy rumors about Andrew Wiggins that even his partner, Mikal, had to respond. Paul Pierce was on like, I hope these Wiggins rumors aren't true. So it feels like a bit much,
Dirty.
Like they're going through something and she's having to come on and respond because people are just making up rumors. So it's just out of hand. Jim, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, obviously I'm curious as to what's going on. But as a journalist, as a human being, let me speak first as a human being. As a human being, I believe that he deserves a space when it's something this personal as they are saying. And as Marcus said, if the team is good with it and they know him better than anyone else, then so be it. I'll say this as a journalist. As I get older, the one thing I learned is that we all have our moral compass, right? And we are all put in situations at times about where is the line for us. And it's different for everyone, and everyone won't agree with it. And I've been in situations where I've known things and I didn't report it because I felt it crossed the line. I felt it was too intrusive. And if you want to say that makes me a bad journalist, I'm okay with that because first and foremost, I have to live with myself. So from that standpoint, when it comes to Andrew Wiggins, whatever it is clearly serious from his standpoint, his family standpoint. And again, as Marcus said, if the players in the organization feel that he deserves that space and they're good, I'm good. No matter how, as a fan, I may be curious, but I understand why they are taking the position that they're taking.
Okay. Zena, I want to give you the last word on this. I want to hit a couple of topics with these two before we leave.
For sure. I will not beat a dead horse. I think Jim and Marcus covered it really well in terms of there's a line. If his teammates are good with that, that's, none of our business. I want to go back to your first question of like, is it the fans? Is it the media? Is it both? Oh my goodness. I apologize. But is it the fans? Is it both? I don't know. I think it's this sports betting advent of sports betting. I think there are more sports bettors now that are very publicly saying, hey, my money's tied up in this. And that's why they feel like they have a right to know. Because at the end of the day, no one, fan or not, insanely passionate or not, you're not signing this man's checks. So this is none of your business, whether he shows up for work or not. But who feels like they do have money in this, like they are signing checks? Sports bettors. And with more states getting this legalized, more sports bettors are getting loud about their involvement and their just direct ties to the performance of certain players, of certain teams. I mean, we've seen this at the NBA level, but even all the way down to high school sports, or excuse me, college sports. Like, people are getting really, really just, they're digging in and they're getting entangled in this where they're not seeing clearly because they're just thinking about the money. And so that's what I think is a force that's pushing this conversation forward when it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, you
that's
really
wild
right.
too when you think about it.
All I see is
Marcus.
parlays always on Twitter. Oh, you messed up my parlay.
Yeah,
I just feel like it's wild. If anybody should understand, like, none of this stuff is stable and things might go crazy, it should be the bettors. Like
I know.
How could you guys be this?
I know.
Like, I don't understand. Like, you guys are confused. Things change. Like, have you been to Vegas? Like, that's the part I don't get. It's just weird to me. Like, I'm not listening to bettors. Like, so you play in the game. You get burned sometimes. So be it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to sound like the old man here real quick, though. I just think this world and this country is in a messed up place. And the stuff that gets put out on social media and the things that people now say publicly that they would never say to someone's face and whatnot, I just feel like we're in a really bad place. And I'm not sure how you get past it. But when I hear this talk, like the stuff we've heard about Andrew Wiggins, man, it kind of angered me, to be honest with you, because it's like, if that ain't true, the damage you do to someone and their character and their family, I'm like, Wow.
It was pure speculation. All right, before we go, Marcus, I just got to ask you really quickly because I know you cover the Niners, but Hargrave was talking kind of crazy. You know, I'm saying he's talking crazy because some people may not know this. I'm an Eagles fan, but he said, oh, you know, I think he said something everyone knows. If Brock Purdy would have played in the NFC Championship, it would be different. Fine, we know that. But, like, he's only saying that now because he's on the 49ers. Why did you feel the need to express that? So, right? That's the only reason.
Why do you hate? Hey, sweet grapes are better than sour ones.
I'm just saying, like, it was so unnecessary. But you know what? I'm going to forgive him. It was
necessary. They just paid him a bunch of money. He just got paid a bunch of money by 49ers. He's on the 49ers flagship network. What do you think? Gonna be like, man, we would have cooked them dudes if Brock Purdy was playing.
I mean, he didn't even have to comment on it, though. But you know what? I'm going to forgive him because you know what he said the first thing he wants to do, or one of the top things on his list to do, is see Ward down. Yes. Yeah. So you know what, Marcus? I'm going to give him a pass for this. I'm going to give him a pass. Marcus, Jim.
Can I ask this question?
Yes. Go ahead.
He didn't say that Philadelphia would have lost.
I know.
All he said was what we all know, Jim.
It was just unnecessary. It was an unnecessary statement,
hey, man,
Jim.
if they didn't have their fourth-string quarterback, the game would have been different.
You know?
All right.
Like, where is this coming from?
Y'all
sour grapes, baby. I tell you.
Whatefer. Thank you, Jim and Marcus. Thank you for joining me.
Therapy. You need therapy about Hargrave.
Oh, stop it.
Thank you for joining us today. Take care, guys.
All right, y'all. Have a good day.
You too.
Rest in peace. That is the great Willis Reed, Grambling legend and New York Knicks. He passed away yesterday at the age of 80. I want to welcome to the show for Women's Wednesday, all-woman panel, my girl, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, joining us. Kelsey, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, ladies, for having me again. Excited to be here on Women's Wednesday. I know you guys have been holding it down.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So I saw you tweeting about Willis. Look, everyone was tweeting rest in peace, but he has some special meaning to you. So I just wanted to, how did you feel when you first heard the news?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks again so much for giving me this platform to share this story. And honestly, I've just been so impressed with all of the networks and the way that they've been paying tribute to a basketball great. And I will never forget yesterday, I was coming off a Zoom and my father texted me, Willis Reed has died. And, I know he had been sick and battling some health challenges, but Willis Reed is somebody I grew up with in my household because my dad is a Grambling State University alumna. The black and gold is strong. And also, just from someone that has family from Louisiana. We're talking about a guy that's a Louisiana legend, Bernice, Louisiana, where he grew up, on a farm, a place that someone like Benny Anders is also from, Bullets legend here in Washington, D.C. Elvin Hayes, also not far from that area. The late great Bill Russell also spending time, from that area. And, two of our favorite words in sports, Game 7, and Knicks fans are talking. Game 7, him coming out the tunnel. This is a guy that shed it all on the basketball court. Gave us so much hope. He's won a championship in college, then on the NBA level, an all-star, an Hall of Famer, a GM. This is a man that did it all, especially what he represented HBCU sports. We are at a time where HBCU sports, I think, are properly getting the overdue recognition that they deserve. So just, thankful for all of his contributions on the basketball court. I was so honored last year to be able to see Grambling State University retire his jersey and also name a court after him down there. So again, everyone knows his greatness, but Willis Reed, he will be missed. Knicks fans miss him. Grambling State University alumni miss him. He always and forever will be a Grambling Knights. Just thankful.
Yeah, the tributes were pouring in yesterday. So rest in peace to the great Willis Reed. He will be sorely missed. Definitely.
For sure.
So I hate to just move on from a topic like that, but that's what we have to do in this business. So I'm really excited right now about the NCAA tourney. And I know in the past, it's usually typical. People are always talking about the men's tourney, and there's been a lot of advancement with women, but I'm all in right now on the women's tourney, more than the men's. It is more exciting to me. I'm happy about it. Maybe I'm just biased. Maybe I'm biased, but that's what I want to get into.
I'll jump in here. You're not biased, okay? NCAA women's basketball is literally making her story. Okay, not history, her story. I mean, we're seeing sellouts across the space. I mean, South Carolina's been selling out all year. Stanford's been selling out all year. But looking at these games, particularly in this tournament, they have recorded the most amount of minutes streamed of any of their games. This is men or women's side, right? They said, Holly Rowe tweeted yesterday, if you build it, they will come. That's what the NCAA women's space right now is. And what's even better is that all of these girls, young women, keep breaking history, right? Like Maddie Seagrass at Villanova has now had 36 games with 20 points or more. Last person to hold that, Kelsey Plum, was up there, right? So just look at that. Kelsey Plum was just the #1 draft pick just a few years ago. This is recent generations blowing out long-held records. And it's so exciting to see that the game is evolving. And what's really exciting, brands and the fan base are evolving with them. They're following the storylines. They're buying tickets. They're feeding into the fandom around the game. And I'm mostly excited for this to translate to the WNBA level, because we know that that's what it takes in order to get the WNBA what they need in terms of resources and pay and all the above. It starts here. When you have sellout crowds and you've got year-over-year growth in viewership and year-over-year growth in buying tickets and buying merch and all the above, that's how you set the foundation for an amazing NCAA women's space going into the WNBA space.
I mean, you just hit on all of it. Like you said, I mean, women's basketball, selling tickets, we're watching. It's exciting basketball. We just had controversy, at the end of the game the other day, and the sportsmanship law. Bring in the heat. I think that's why we love March, and it's exciting, for me as someone who went to University of Maryland, watching this Maryland team, a team where Brenda Freeze had 9 new players, folks. Think about that, rebuilding your roster, one returning starter. You're talking about it leading into the WNBA. Look at what Diamond Miller, has been able to do, for that Maryland women's basketball team. Aaliyah Boston, another name, South Carolina, undefeated, right? And
dominance.
Dawn Staley not letting anybody else have any greatness. She's continuing to get that greatness. Another projected #1 pick, right, in the upcoming WNBA draft, and Diamond Miller projected #2 pick in the WNBA draft.
Yep.
It's been the SEC for the women. I mean, has also been showing out for basketball. For women's basketball, it's at an all-time high. I'm excited for the young girls to continue to see this grow, because so many are watching them, what they're doing. Notre Dame, another team, I think that, it's defying the odds, right? You look at the injury, is Notre Dame going to get there? And once again, players stepping up. And this is why every team wants that one shining moment, right? Because you just don't know going to be that player that steps up, and the other team that's going to bite the dust. So for me, the women's tournament has been just as fun. I've been following all of the games. The excitement is there. If you're not watching, now's the best time to get into it, because these girls can hoop. And I think, the tournament, everyone would say, we know who's going to win. No, you don't this year.
You don't. You don't. You definitely
not
don't.
know.
And
not know. Who's beating the game back?
Right, I know. I mean, I don't. Wait. I agree. I chose the Gamecock, but I want to double back to 2 points that you hit on, Kelsey. #1, the drama in the line. Right, this is Haley Van Lith from Louisville, Sonia Morris from Texas. What I love most about that moment, we don't have to dig deep into what was said, because we still don't know what was said. We got to figure this out. But what I love about that is,
I'm good at reading lips.
Oh, well, we know what Sonia said. I don't know what was said for her to say what she said, right? Okay. But what I love most about that whole interaction is the evolution of the game to allow these young women to be competitors, right? Yeah. This whole conversation. I mean, I remember even back when Skylar Diggins was playing, when she would get into the stands and get, rip her jersey and all the things, like, people be like, calm down. You're a young woman. Right? You have to, carry yourself like a lady. I love Angel Reese talking. I love Haley Van Lith being like, girl, just beat your team by 20, please. Like, I love that energy, because these young women have not been able to have that sort of energy on the court. And so that is another factor of the game evolving, is that they get to be the full player that they are on the court. So that's super exciting. Yes.
And I think it's really important. I think it's really important, though. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelsey. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Unapologetically being able to be themselves. It's so important. So often as women, we're taught to, quote, behave, and kind of have this polished look. For me, LSU's Angel Reese has been one of my favorite players to watch, even though she left my Maryland Terrapins, but it's okay because she's balling out at LSU from Baltimore, and she brings it to the court every time. She is her. And I think that's so important for people to see and witness, because why on the men's side, it's acceptable, for a coach to take off his shirt, and we loved it. I love that. But why on the women's side are we going to say, calm down, tone down? She should never be.
Exactly.
Where we have to stop that, stop the double standards. Ladies, keep bringing it, because young girls are going to see that in this world you can be accepted for who you are. And let's be honest, this is why we love sports. We want the trash talk. Yeah. We want to bring that heat to the court because it makes the game better.
And
Angel Reese is such a unique. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying overall how the coverage of how we talk about them, right? And I mean, that's what you were hitting on. And the coverage just needs to be better, like with respect to the biases, whatever it is. Like, I'm going to just say it. There's a Stanford bias, because when Ole Miss won, even just throughout that game, there was just so much, Stanford, and not enough Ole Miss for me. And that's, like you said, how they talk about the players, like, oh, when the women act a certain way, it's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. So in general, the coverage needs to be better. And I really liked, because I saw this piece from Anscape where they started talking about the protective styles that the Black players wear. And I think that's important to educate the audiences on how they wear their hair and why they wear it, because we know, I mean, there are states where laws have been passed to protect against discrimination of hair, like for locks and braids, like I'm wearing right now. So the coverage needs to get better, and like pieces like this from Anscape and us continuing to talk about it will allow people to start getting the coverage better, because we have to educate them.
For sure. And the thing about it is, when you think about the audience of women's basketball, predominantly old, predominantly white. And so they don't have the typical exposure to young Black women to be able to understand why they're wearing their hair like that. Why is there colors one day and there was a different color the next day? This was crazy that this changed so quickly. That's a whole different element to the game for them, is this personality of the players showing up on the court. Another thing I wanted to get back to as well, speaking of Black players, but also Black coaches, right? You guys talked about Dawn Staley. You talked about Notre Dame with Niall Ivey. I mean, and now obviously Ole Miss with Coach Yo. This identity is so important. And it was so cool for Dawn Staley to pay homage to Cheney State for an all-women staff getting to the Final Four that was all Black, right? Led by Vivian Stringer. Like, that's history right there. And it's so interesting for how many Black players there are in the NCAA women's basketball space and the WNBA. It's a rarity. And so it's exciting to see the game evolve from the players' perspective, but also the leadership and the people that are carrying the game forward from a coaching perspective as well. And I think to kind of wrap it all up, to get back to your point, Nat, the next step is the coverage. And what I'm most excited about, Andrea Carter.
Oh,
right?
she's incredible.
I mean, she's amazing, right? Carolyn Peck, of course, a legend in this space. But Monica McNutt, like you're getting more of these voices that also played the game, but are now able to speak from their personality and their perspective as Black women too. And you can hear it in even the way that Andrea Carter talks about the players. She's not describing them in these like physical attributes that have previously been solely on the size of the players or their physical. She's talking about their intelligence, their ability to read plays, their skill. Thank you. And so I love this evolution all across the board for this game. And again, it's not just the Black players, of course. We talked about Haley Van Lith, talk about the Cavender twins down in Miami. People are just getting the opportunity to be themselves out there. And that is what's most exciting about women's basketball.
And I think it's just showing the versatility of women's basketball players. But again, I think we can't also go away from the history. We talked about it. I think we have about 6 Black coaches between the men's and women's side, right? As we look to the Sweet 16, we're getting closer and closer to the Final Four. And, it takes me back to 2021. History was made where we had 2 Black head coaches, right? Dawn Staley in Arizona. And Barnes, right, leading their teams to the Final Fours, for the first time in Division I NCAA tournament history. So all that to say, look at the progress that we've made. And even then, look at us, we're representing different hairstyles on the show. We come from different backgrounds and experience. Now, I think it's society catching up with us. You know, I love seeing I used to wear braids and locks, and I love that we can be ourselves. They can bring it to the basketball court. I mean, these girls are doing it with braids down their back and scoring more buckets probably than any of us score on the basketball court. And, you know, and with the nails, I mean, it's amazing. And now it's more acceptable. And you talk about the broadcasters as well. You know, Monica and Elle, they also all bring it. And so now it's just the rest of us just need to get with it, because they're going to continue to be themselves. They're going to continue to excel. These players are the future. And now I'm already excited to watch them on in the WNBA.
I am too. Before I just let you go really quickly, Kelsey, today was supposed to be about CJ Stroud at Pro Day, but is Cam stealing the show? I mean, quick thoughts really quick on just Pro Day today and Cam making so much news when like it was supposed to be about CJ Stroud today.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Newton is a boss at this. I mean, he has the personality that's bigger than life. But I think what's great about it, you know, Cam Newton is saying, you know, he said it. He doesn't think there's 32 quarterbacks better than himself, you know, and he's showing his skills and talent. Also love that he brought a little brother along. You know, who else better to bring along with you than the little brother that's going to always show you love and a quarterback himself. But I think Cam really is trying to vie for a chance to get back in the league. And let's be honest, I mean, when we look at the quarterbacks, look at some of these teams that could use quarterbacks right now. I mean, Lamar Jackson is still searching for a home right now. Cam has the size. Obviously, he still has some of that arm talent. I think he does want another chance to redeem himself, especially after the way things ended with the New England Patriots. So I have to say, you know, I think Cam, keep being you, keep doing you. I mean, I think when a team is to get Cam, you know, he's going to be a larger than life personality, and you're going to get so much more than just the football skills and talent. But it goes back to what we were just talking about. Cam Newton is himself, right? But he still has football skills and talent. And look, showing the young guys, hey, if you want to compete, you're going to have to compete with a guy like me, because I'm also still vying for a chance. So I know he has a lot of hate on social media, but Cam, keep doing it. And you just never know. Because again, there's a lot of teams that could use even a number 2 quarterback like Cam Newton, you know, behind their starting quarterback. Because quarterbacks go down all the time, unfortunately. So who is going to be that guy to step up? So I'm a fan of Cam. Not saying it's going to go anywhere, but do you, be you, and we see you.
Kelsey, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Take care. Have fun in Vegas.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Of course.
Damian Lillard. He's not interested in rebuilding. Yeah, Dame. I know you're not interested in rebuilding, but you're loyal to Portland. Blah, 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 blah. You don't want to request a trade. Zena?
Okay, Damian, you're one of the most down-to-earth, loyal, cool brothers in the NBA, period. You got that title. So we should kick it to you real, because that's what you appreciate. Choose a lane. Do you want to rebuild? Do you want to win a ring? Do you want to judge everybody win a ring, but then stay where you can't win a ring? You got to choose a lane. You can't just keep staying in the middle and then watching everybody go by, but being upset that no one's winning in Portland. You got to pick a lane, babe.
It's intentional.
We love you, but we got to pick a lane.
It's intentional.
Because you're not going to win an award. You're not going to win an award for being the most loyal to Portland.
And he wants the trade, but he doesn't want to state it. So when it happens, he can always have on record to say, I never requested the trade. But we know the jig. Listen, some good news came in, Zena. Some good news came in. Paul George had like what looked like a horrific injury last night. And after his history, you would not want that. But fortunately, they say he's going to be back in a few weeks. So thank goodness for that. We're happy to hear that news. Zena, thank you for coming on today for this Women's Wednesday. I appreciate you. It was so fun.
It was so fun. Thanks for having me.
It's a great time.
Bye, girl.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.